One thing that I do love about the Lumix S1R Mark II is because number one, if you really love resolution, you can shoot up to 8K. And if you feel like you don't really need 8K, but it's there, which is very good because this camera is going to be future proof. And I feel like this is going to be a best year for all Lumix user because now you do have the best hybrid camera that gives you everything. Today is a very good day for every Lumix user, and I am telling you that because I have just called a sheet for the Lumix S1R Mark II, and it is a good camera, not a good camera. It is the best hybrid camera that I have seen. By the way, big up for Lumix, Panasonic for sending us all this information before the release because I wish you guys would see how much excited I am. Now, let's talk about the thing. By the way, I do have the spec sheet here, and the thing that I'm seeing, damn, number one, 14 stops of dynamic range in Vlog. This is very good and very important to people that really want to bring out their highlight and shadow. But you know what's also good? Is 8K up to 30 frames per second. And honestly, I was not expecting for Lumix to drop an 8K camera, let alone full frame. I was not, and I don't want to lie to you. And this, it is a game changer. Imagine having a good hybrid camera that does 8K 10-bit in Vlog, which is amazing. And honestly, I have to say thank you Lumix for listening to your users. Another thing is that, you know, a lot of people have been complaining about slow motion. My camera do not have 60, my camera do not have this, and I really love how Lumix came out and said, hey, we are gonna give you 60 frames per second, but you know what, we're also going to give you 100 frames per second. But we're not going to take away from your sensor. We're going to give you the full sensor readout, and that's very, very big. And honestly, I am so excited for you guys to finally get to see what this camera can do. Another thing is that when the Lumix S1R Mark I came out, so many people loved the camera, but so many of them as well did not like the focus system that that camera had. And Lumix is actually listening. And Lumix say, hey guys, we are going to give you phase detection autofocus, and we actually gonna make it even better. Obviously, as filmmaker, we know how well phase detection autofocus is for tracking. And what Lumix say, guys, we just know it's good, but we also gonna focus on making it even better. So we're going to add a new AI face tracking that's very good for basically everything that you would do or need as a creator. And Lumix also said, by the way, so you know, this AI tracking is twice as fast to all our previous Lumix cameras. And I really like that. As someone who's been using the Lumix, and one thing that I will say about this is that, hey Lumix, I hope that this autofocus tracking works in all resolution mode. I feel like that will be very, very helpful. Another thing that I actually love about Lumix is that open gate is something that they introduce to most people, especially storyteller who love to reframe their stuff. And Lumix say, hey, we'll give you 6.4K, which is good. And honestly, in my opinion, that's really enough. But they said, no, we know we can do better. With a firmware update, we are going to give you 8.1K open. Like, where have you seen 8.1K open gate? Tell me that's not an overkill. And I know you was not expecting 8.1K open gate. And I said, fine, if you want to choose, we'll also give you 7.2K open gate mode. By the way, that is coming with a new firmware update. And that alone, it's another reason why I think this is a very, very good camera. And for some other cameras, you know, when they give you the ability to shoot all this very good resolution and tell you have to do that external, Lumix said, no, I will let you shoot 5.8K internal. Like, what? So here's the thing that I like about that, because you know, most of our delivery or our deliverables are 4K, which means I myself am gonna end up shooting everything internal to save money for external recorder. Also, you can do ProRes ProRes HQ and ProRes RAW, giving you all the flavors. I don't know much about any other thing, but I think there might also be MOV for people that want to do those fast turnaround projects, which is really, really good. They also said this camera is 20% smaller than the previous camera, but also the same size as the S5 Mark II, which is good. Obviously, they still carry their this camera being very durable, dust proof, and all that stuff, which is something that I really, really love about Lumix cameras. And also, in-body image stabilization. Lumix has a mode in this camera that it's basically will give you the ability to get all your sensor reader without any crop, which is good. And I'm actually waiting to explore more of this when I get my hand on the camera. Like I've said, I've just got this spec sheet from Lumix and I am excited. Today it is, maybe we are 2 weeks before Lumix released this camera, and honestly what I'm seeing on my spec sheet is unbelievably good, and I know how well this camera is going to retain its value because it's going to be very future proof. You're going to have this camera and realize I've already got 8K, I've already got 60, I've already got 120 frames per second. It's a full frame, which is really, really good. And now this camera has a button, right, where Lumix allow you to shoot photo and video. And I'm telling you, photographer, this is for you, or for any other content creator that shoots still and videos. But before we talk about that, let me tell you one thing that is very important for sound. I feel like we need to include sound as well. So this camera now supports 32-bit float recording. This is so good because now if you shoot documentary, you have a very good camera, full frame, every resolution, and you can do 32-bit float recording in the camera that's very small. So you can move faster, which is good. Now go back to photographer. So this camera has a button where you can go between still and photo mode. That's a quick way to access that, and I like that. And once you switch to photo mode, this become a beast of a camera. You do have a 44 megapixel still images, and that works in both RAW and JPEG. You know how big that is. Also, for those people that use Capture One, this camera is compatible with Capture One, which means that basically there is nothing that you can't do with this camera. Also, there is a 177 megapixel high resolution mode. Like, are you shooting for billboard? Hey, you can use the Lumix S1R Mark II. As you can see, this camera will work for both photographer and video. And now, this is something that I used to see on YouTube and Instagram. Someone will come with their Sony or any other camera and press the shutter and show how much the frame per second it will take. This camera does 40 frames per second blackout free, which means if you're shooting sport, listen, you're going to capture everything that is in front of you to make it even better. And this is the feature that I know you are going to love. This camera will give you 1.5 second pre-capture, which means before you press the shutter, you have captured 1.5 seconds, which is dope. And honestly, I cannot wait to see all of you getting your hand on this camera. I can't really flip my phone to show you what I'm seeing here. This is a high resolution, high speed, and high quality camera that I know most of you guys are going to love. By the way, again, I really appreciate Lumix. Lumix, you don't know how much I really appreciate you for giving me all this information beforehand. Also, I cannot wait to get my hand on this camera because I have a set of Leica art that I've been wanting to use on a great camera. I do have Canon FDs. I do have what's my other lenses that I love again?
Cook.
No, Cook was the one from we went to get from Hungary. The one that we bought from London. Zeiss Super Speed. I have a set of Zeiss super speed. I can't even remember my own lenses. That's how excited I am about this spec sheet. Anyway, this camera is going to be very, very good, and I know you guys are going to love it. So comment below and tell me what you really want to see in this camera, and I bet you Lumix have done it. One thing that I do love about the Lumix S1R II is because number one, if you really love resolution, you can shoot up to 8K. And if you feel like you don't really need 8K, but it's there, which is very good because this camera is going to be future proof, and I feel like this is going to be a best year for all Lumix user, because now you do have the best hybrid camera that gives you everything. And when I mean everything, I mean 8K, 14 stops of dynamic range, I mean 4K up to 120 frames per second with the full sensor readout, have all the open gate, also does work for photographer as well as videographer, and you do have an amazing IBIS and a very good autofocus system, which is very good. I cannot wait to explore more from Panasonic, and as I said, I really appreciate everyone from Lumix for sending me all the info, or sending us all the info before release, so we can get excited and talk about this camera. So hey, watch another video that I've just dropped that have the full spec, full script, full everything. This was just my excitement about this camera.